Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to take four incredibly abstract, almost ancient concepts and rebuild them into a highly practical, deliberate survival strategy designed specifically for modern adulthood. We're looking at the foundational pillars of flourishing, and I am so excited to guide you through this, because what we're really doing today is looking at the actual architecture of a meaningful life.
Let's be real. To be human is to navigate a strange, beautiful, and quite frankly, totally disorienting existence. As adults, we're constantly caught between our daily material limitations, paying the bills, managing our careers, dealing with our own mortality, and the infinite reach of our consciousness. We created this explainer to give you a crystal clear framework for handling that exact tension. Because the truth is, you can't just passively survive adulthood and expect to truly flourish. Managing all this complexity, it requires a deliberate strategy.
So here is our blueprint for today. We'll start with surviving the adult experience, then move into faith, the unseen floor, hope, the cognitive muscle, love, the relational glue, wisdom, the steering wheel, and finally, cultivating your daily masterpiece. Let's get to it.
Let's start building our foundation. Section 1. Faith, the unseen floor. This is all about epistemic trust and the bedrock of agency.
So, the real kicker here is that true faith isn't about demanding mathematical certainty before you make a move. Actually, think about it. If we waited for absolute, undeniable proof before making any life choices, we would choose total immobility. Faith is a fundamental psychological necessity. It's the absolute bedrock of human agency. It is simply your willingness to take a step into the unknown, trusting that the universe, despite all its unpredictability and suffering, is still totally worthy of your active engagement. And everyday actions are actually acts of profound courage. Every single time you board an airplane, enter a marriage, invest in a new venture, or honestly just drag yourself out of bed on a random Monday morning, you are exercising a form of secular faith. You're operating on the assumption that the floor will hold, right? That the future is worth entering. Without this baseline configuration, the human mind just spirals into cynicism and nihilism, which, if you think about it, is really just faith inverted. It's a dogmatic belief that nothing matters. So recognizing your daily actions as acts of faith literally keeps you from falling into that kind of paralysis.
Moving right along. Section 2. Hope, the cognitive muscle. Here we'll look at agency, pathways, and projected future.
We have to completely reframe this concept right now. There is a massive difference between passive optimism, which is that starry-eyed, everything will magically turn out fine vibe, and active hope. Active hope is gritty. It looks reality right in the eye. Active hope says, things are really difficult right now, but a better future is absolutely possible, and I have a role to play in creating it. It is not some passive belief, it's active endurance. It's a muscle that you can and absolutely must train.
Psychologist C.R. Snyder's hope theory breaks this down perfectly, framing hope as a kind of formula for mental time travel. It requires three distinct components. First, goals. You need a clear vision of a desired outcome. Second, pathways. The ability to generate multiple routes to get there, especially when the inevitable obstacles pop up. And third, agency. The actual willpower and motivation to execute those pathways. This incredible cognitive capacity allows us to look at a broken present, project ourselves into an idealized future, and work backward. Hope bridges that gap between what is and what could be.
With our foundation and our direction set, we need our core motivation. Section 3. Love, the relational glue. We're talking about radical connection and the relational self.
There's this amazing quote from the philosopher Martin Buber that highlights our profound neurological and evolutionary wiring for connection. Yes, we are social animals, but we are also meaning-seeking creatures who truly discover ourselves only in relation to others. Mature love is an act of the will. It forcefully moves us out of our self-absorbed evolutionary survival loops and makes us recognize the sacredness of another person, whether that's a partner, a child, or your broader community.
Because here's the thing. Love is the emotional currency of the universe, and it requires us to drop our defensive armor and risk being truly seen. If you don't cultivate this, let me tell you, the accomplishments you drive toward with your hope and the stability you maintain with your faith are eventually going to feel incredibly hollow, sterile, and deeply lonely. Love provides the ultimate why to all of our other efforts.
Okay, so we have the engine and the fuel, but now we need the steering wheel. Section 4. Wisdom, the steering wheel. This is all about applied knowledge and systemic discernment.
We live in an age where we are absolutely drowning in information, but starving for wisdom, right?
Information is just raw data. Wisdom is knowing how to apply that data to lead a balanced, ethical life. It's the accrued, lived experience that you synthesize through reflection. Wisdom teaches us when to hold on and when to let go, how to speak the truth, but do it with kindness, and the critical difference between what is just urgent and what is actually important. Without wisdom, faith curdles into fanaticism, hope morphs into reckless delusion, and love degrades into toxic codependency. Wisdom basically reads the room of the human condition and sets the boundaries so our other virtues can safely thrive.
And the absolute foundation of all that wisdom, intellectual humility. If you want to accelerate your growth as an adult, you need to become incredibly comfortable saying 4 little words. I might be wrong. Being willing to admit our own blind spots and actively seeking out perspectives that challenge our worldview, that is the fast track to deep systemic discernment. Which brings us to our final section today, cultivating your daily masterpiece, rebuilding hand-me-down structures. You see, as kids, virtues are usually handed to us ready-made by our parents, our culture, or our institutions. But as adults, we can't rely on those hand-me-downs anymore. We have to intentionally dismantle those old structures and cultivate this quadrant ourselves, using our own materials.
So how do we actually do this? Let's break down some highly practical daily microactions you can take to train these foundational pillars. To cultivate faith, actively practice courage, step into situations where you don't control the outcome, and just trust your internal resources. For hope, train your mind by breaking massive setbacks into tiny controllable micro-goals to prove to yourself that your actions still matter. To expand love, practice the discipline of attention. Truly listen to someone, especially someone difficult, recognizing their rough edges usually come from unhealed wounds. And for wisdom, audit your mistakes regularly, but crucially, do it without self-flagellation. No beating yourself up.
None of these concepts operate in silos. They form a self-reinforcing loop, a completely interdependent ecosystem. Think about it. If your faith collapses, your hope has nothing to stand on. If your love disappears, your wisdom becomes cold and detached. When one is compromised, the whole structure suffers. But when you intentionally cultivate them together, they bring profound internal alignment. You'll find that you can face uncertainty without terror and success without arrogance.
Integrating these 4 pillars, faith is your foundation, hope is your momentum, love is your motivation, and wisdom is your balance, is exactly how you transform the raw chaos of human existence into a coherent, beautiful masterpiece. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial question for you to reflect on today as you look at your own internal architecture. Are you still relying on the hand-me-down virtues of your past, or are you actively doing the work to build your masterpiece?